He has literally, like almost single-handedly started this wave of online evangelism. This is one of the things that the COVID crisis really brought out, was everybody began to shift in what they did. So, he was online leading people to Christ, 10 people, 20 people at a time in his online broadcasts. And so at first it's like, cool, some people got saved online. And then it was like every broadcast he was seeing people saved. And we were all blown away by that. And we kind of felt like, wow, I knew the touch of God was on Sammy's life. But now I began to see a hunger for the harvest. And that's one thing that had been missing in the Canadian landscape. And this is where it might be offensive, some things I'll say here, but it's truth. You could go to 9 out of 10 churches or even Canadian conferences, Canadian charismatic events, and not only not see anybody led to Jesus, but not even a call for salvation or an emphasis placed on soul winning. It was usually just the gifts of the prophetic, gifts of the Spirit, this kind of thing, and all of that is good. But you began to feel like, man, where is reaching the lost? And even as we would grow our churches, it was a lot of transfer growth. Suddenly, here comes Sammy Robinson, online, leading people to Christ in what is supposed to be the most difficult time to do it. COVID lockdown, where we think we're not going to reach souls. Here in the worst of times, the harvest is still ripe. What have we been doing when our buildings are open? We have all these resources. When everything's normal, why aren't we reaching people? Now that things are not normal, here you've got a guy that is leading people to Christ. So the reason he called me was he said, Derek, I had to connect with you because I'm seeing people saved. And you got to know Sammy. He's such a breath of fresh air. He's so excited. He's saying, I'm seeing people saved on every week, man, every week. But I got to connect them somehow. I got to connect them to churches. And those churches have to have onboarding systems to keep them and care for these new believers. And that was it right there. I saw it. And he saw it, was that the harvest was ripe. But in some ways, some Canadian churches had been out of the game so long that we forgot even how to value or take care of the harvest. Sammy's evangelism revival produced the question of, are our churches ready to take care of the harvest if there was an influx of souls? And not just I rededicated or something. People in tears, people, families being touched, real genuine salvations. And here's a guy saying, I'm doing the evangelism. Where can I find a church that will value and process these new believers? And there are churches that will, and I think every church would say, yeah, we would. We just made it a priority. We just said, he launched this 1 million soul mandate for 2020. He said 2020 is not going to be defined by COVID. It's going to be harvest. And so when that emerged, the Lord spoke to me. True story. During this crisis, the Lord told me that he was going to speak to several leaders in Canada as it relates to an evangelism revival, an awakening again of harvest and soul winning in Canada. And I believe Sammy is one of them. I believe God spoke to me, and there are others, and God spoke to Sammy, and he is an example of what it is to start a movement, be all in, and care about the things that God cares about. I'm really proud of him. I'm privileged to be working with him.